cut the charade with Kaepernick and encourage teams to sign him. The Patriots should be that team, not just for the aforementioned football reasons, but because there are few teams better equipped to handle the maelstrom that would come with a Kaepernick return. And do you really think a distraction will hamper them? They brought in media star Tim Tebow, who was nowhere near the player Kaepernick was. They won a Super Bowl the season of Deflategate. A star tight end turned out to be a murderer. I've never seen another organization that knows better how to turn inward and, to borrow a phrase, do their job. The interesting perspective. Does Colin Kaepernick in New England make sense? Rob and Lewis are still with us, and Field Yates joins us as well. But Rob, I want to start with you as a former Patriots player. You saw it through all of the things that came through the time that you were there in New England. How would you describe the way Bill Belichick keeps the team focused on the task at hand?
It's unbelievable how he's able to bring a team together and focus on just becoming a team and forgetting anything outside of the building that could distract you and pull you away from what you're trying to do. You go back to Albert Haynesworth and Chad Johnson, a.k.a. Ocho Cinco, bringing guys like that. And we saw the quote with Tim Tebow, bringing guys in that could be a distraction. Bill Belichick is able to take the whole team. You come together, you have a team meeting. He explains everything to you. And everyone just goes on as business, as just regular business. Every single day you come in, you work on your craft, and you try and be better individually as a player and try to come together as a team. I think Bill Belichick is, if not the best, one of the best to ever bring a team together, no matter who's on the roster, no matter what they have. At his disposal, he's able to bring guys together from all over different parts. So I think that Kaepernick in a Patriots locker room would not be a distraction.
Let's talk then, Field, about the fit. What would you see in Colin Kaepernick as a member of that offense?
So, Greeny, I think there are two sides of this conversation. Why it would make sense, and then why a team would not be interested in signing Colin Kaepernick from a purely football standpoint. So why the Patriots would be interested in Colin Kaepernick is because as of right now, Jarrett Stidham is the projected starter, and Jarrett Stidham has not played any snaps of consequence in the NFL. But there's a very fine line, and I think this logic applies to the Patriots with Jarrett Stidham, to the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, to the Jacksonville Jaguars with Gardner Minshew, between bringing a player into your quarterback room who can help that young player that might already be your projected starter grow and mature, and also maybe creating too much competition. The Patriots have invested the past year in Jarrett Stidham as a developmental player. They spent this offseason trying to develop him. I think that if you bring someone in like Colin Kaepernick, it might sort of put a damper on your development of Jarrett Stidham and say basically, hey, we already don't believe in you, despite the fact we haven't even seen you play snaps on the field. So I get why it would make sense, but if we're trying to figure out why the Patriots might pass, I think it would be the investment in Jarrett Stidham that might be enough motivation for them to focus in on their fourth-round pick from 2019.
Can I push back on that a little bit? I mean, investment is a relative term. I don't know how much work went on behind the scenes, but he didn't play last year at all, and Colin Kaepernick at his best is way better than most quarterbacks ever grow to be. So I don't think you'd be bringing in Kaepernick as a mentor for a young quarterback as much as to give him a chance to be your quarterback of the future. Does that not make sense to you?
No, as I said, I do think there is. I think why it makes sense for any team is sort of straightforward and kind of what you encapsulated right there, Greeny. I think that a lot of teams are probably saying right now, on June 15th, with 1 week left, basically, of the virtual off-season program, 2 weeks left, excuse me, and then we'll see about when training camps actually begin with COVID-19 complications, that teams feel as though they've put enough in this off-season with their current collection that trying to get someone up to speed and then maybe potentially at the top of the depth chart like Colin Kaepernick would be a tall order for any coaching staff, even one led by Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, which is why, again, I think that while I can understand the fit, I think the Patriots are not going to be where Colin Kaepernick winds up at some point if he does get an NFL chance again.
I get it. Louis Riddick, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And look, when we're just looking at this purely from a football standpoint and considering the factors as it relates to football, we're talking about a player in Colin Kaepernick who unfortunately has not been allowed to play a snap, a single down in the NFL for 4 seasons. 4 seasons, no off-season program that he's been able to go through. And when we're talking about the Patriots, you're talking about him then coming into a organization that right now is in a state of transition, trying to groom a young quarterback, putting a lot of time and effort into making sure Jarrett Stidham has everything possible, at his disposal to go out on the football field and perform from a teaching standpoint, from a weaponry standpoint, that they still have to continue to build out the weapons around him, and making sure that he has the support of a veteran in the quarterback room and a guy like Brian Hoyer who can support him, who they don't have to give a whole lot of attention to because he understands what's expected of him as a number 2 guy as a backup. To bring Colin in at this point in time, a guy who hasn't played for 4 years, hasn't been through an off season with him, they don't know what kind of shape he is in or really where he is at from a football playing standpoint. To get him up to speed in their system detracts from the things they're trying to do with Jarrett Stidham. And if you really want to look at it purely organically from a football standpoint, if you're looking to bring in a veteran at this point, there's a guy out there who right now was a former league MVP named Cam Newton. Why haven't they brought him in? Why haven't they brought in any of the other veteran quarterbacks at this point in time to compete with Jarrett Stidham, if that is really what they need to do? So those are the kinds of questions from a football standpoint you have to ask. And I think New England does a better job of keeping the main thing better than anyone. And I think from a football standpoint, purely football, it doesn't make sense for them to do so at this point in time, considering all the chances that they've had to address the number 2 quarterback position already, and they haven't because they feel fine with where they are.
I want to make sure I'm getting this here, though, for anybody here. Field, if the date is the date for everybody. So if we're sitting here talking about Colin Kaepernick getting back into the NFL, and the problem is that there's only a week or 2 left in virtual and all the rest of that, then that's going to be the case literally everywhere. How is he coming back if no one is going to say, you know what, let's give this a go and see where it winds up?
Well, because I think in New England specifically, the team that we're conversing about right now, Greeny, is the idea is he could be your starter potentially right away. I just think there's a lot more effort that goes into getting a player up to speed to be your starter than if somebody were to bring him in like a Seattle, where he would be the obvious backup.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.